Hello students. So today we are going to learn the fourth part of biotechnology. In this part we are going to learn about bioethics, biopiracy and biopatent. Also we learn the effects of biotechnology on environment such as herbicide use and resistance, effects on untargeted species, effects of biotechnology on human health such as allergies, long-term effect, new proteins, food additives, and then little bit in detail about biopatent and biopiracy. Okay, so if you see the present first slide, again as I keep the first animation which is important for the entire part of the chapter. So here you can see how person holding a patent, okay, which is very much important. If not, then it becomes a piracy, or somebody else uses the same thing and makes it in their name, right? Okay, so moving on with the further part. In the second slide we can see doctor taking note of all the things. Then we can see biopatent. If you are inventing something, finding out something new, you have to patent it or take the rights. Then biopiracy, if not, then somebody else can steal it, grab it, and then make the patents of those and make easy money or fast cash, right? And bioethics, now what is this bioethics, or we can say simply ethics, right? It is policy, technology, dignity, medicine, public, human ethics, science, embryo research, everything comes into it, right? Okay. Moving on to the next slide, that is bioethics. So we go into detail about what is bioethics, or in general about ethics. Firstly, towards the left you can see image which is a symbol for bioethics, right? This symbol is somewhat related with the justice in court, right? But if you see in the central part, instead of the rod you can see the DNA structure, right? Okay, now coming to the points. Ethics usually deals with the matters related to socially acceptable moral duty, conduct, and judgment. In other words, it helps to regulate the behavior of community by some set of standards. The concepts differ according to culture and tradition. Now, what does the first point say? Matters related to socially acceptable moral duty, the conduct and judgment, which is very much important, and it also helps to regulate or carry out the behavior in the community, and there's a certain standards which are set to carry out all these things, right? And also these things, there are small changes or it differs from different culture and tradition, right? Okay, moving further. Moreover, concepts change with the time due to shifting of perception of values which are affected by progress in science and technology. Now, as we can see, as each and every passing day we can see new things coming out because of science and technology, and as the time passes on we can see new things coming up and also the changes according to the need of the hour, right? Okay, bioethics helps to study moral vision, decision and policies of human behavior in relation to biological phenomena or events. Now, as you know, ethics, which as just now we read, which is related to socially acceptable moral duty and how we conduct the judgment, etc. When you talk about bioethics, it is again related with the moral vision, decision, and policies of human behavior with relation to the biological events or what is happening in our surrounding. Ethics deals with life, example, in vitro fertilization, sperm bank, gene therapy, cloning, gene manipulation, euthanasia, death, maintaining those who are in comatose state, prenatal genetic selection, etc. So these are all what, as we read with the life, it comes into bioethics concept, right? Further, the era of biotechnology has brought wide spectrum on new topics like cloning, transgenic, gene therapy, eugenics, rDNA technology, etc. The use of all this has drawn a wide range of reactions in the society. Again, as we just learned in the initial part of the introduction, that as the time passes on, as the time changes, as we move further, there are a lot of new things coming up with the help of technology and science, as new things are being invented. Now, in the last few decades, we can hear about cloning, transgenic plants and animals, which we learned in the previous part of the chapter, gene therapy, eugenics, rDNA technology, with which lot of new things are being carried out in the field of biotechnology. Okay, so there is use also, importance also, advantage also, but along with that there are certain disadvantage which can cause various disturbances in the society as well if you are not using it appropriately, right? Now moving on to the next slide, where we continue with the further part of the introduction. Again, you can see here another symbol, again with relation to the bioethics. Here also we can see the balance where justice is given, but here we can see the DNA in a circular form, right? Okay. The reactions are based on individuals' own perception and moral. Ethic or ethical aspect pertaining to the use of biotechnology seems to be more controversial and frightening. These concerns are broadly summarized below. Now, why it can be controversial or frightening? Because if the technology is used indiscriminately, or it is used by wrong persons, or it has gone into wrong hands, it can be misused, and the misuse of it can be really dangerous or frightening, right? So we can summarize what all things can happen, or it can be a disaster as well, right? Okay, use of animals cause great sufferings to them, violation of integration of species caused due to transgenosis, transfer of human genes into animals, and vice versa. Indiscriminate use of biotechnology pose a risk to the environment, health, and biodiversity. This point clearly gives some of the greater disadvantage. Transgenosis, right? That is transfer of genes into various animals, or crossbreeding or crossing of different species. Transfer of human genes into animals, or vice versa, trying to create something new, unique, but in the process it can also cause harm to the human, to the society, which cannot be thought about, right? And also the biotechnology, if it is used indiscriminately without the knowledge of what risk it can cause to the surrounding or the environment, the health factor, etc. Further, the introduction of genetically modified organism, that is GMO, has led to a wider debate on bioethical concerns affecting socio economic and environmental spheres. Now again, as we learned in the chapter about GMOs, transgenic plants and animals, right? So again, it has got a lot of social values, or social ethical values, economic point of view, and even environmental point of view, whether these transgenic plants or animals can cause harm to the environment, to the nature, to the surrounding, right? Because we are playing with the genes, we are playing with the change in their human character, or the transfer of genes, etc., right? Further, this includes the effect on non-target organism, insect resistant crops, gene flow, and loss of diversity, as well as the issue on interfering with nature, in which the modification process of biological entities. So here, there, if it is acting on a non-target organism, or the crops become resistant to insects, or gene flow from one form to another form, may also cause loss in the diversity, or we can say the natural diversity, right, or the natural environment. Further, ethics in biotechnology also includes the general subject of what should and should not be done in using recombinant DNA techniques. That is, what appropriately should be done. and what should not be done which can cause damage to the nature, environment, etc. So should and should not be an important aspect while carrying out the rDNA techniques. That's where the topic comes about ethics or bioethics. Now, moving further, effects of biotechnology on environment. So there are various effects, some of them which we learning in this chapter. The first one, the herbicide use and resistance. Effects on the environment are a particular concern with regard to GMO crops and food production. One area of development involves adding the ability to produce pesticide and resistance to specific herbicides. So here, if you are using herbicide more in amount, using of pesticides which can actually cause damage to the environment. These traits are helpful in food production, allowing farmers to use fewer chemicals and to grow crops in less ideal condition. So if you know the traits properly, then the farmers can use less chemical fertilizers rather than can use crops where the condition is ideal for them to be grown, or according to the condition the plants can be grown. However, herbicide use could be increased, which will have a longer or larger negative effect on surrounding environment. Also, unintended hybrid strains of weeds and other plants can develop resistance to these herbicides through cross-pollination, thus negating the potential benefit of herbicide. So here unintentionally or unintended, the hybrid strains of weeds or other plants by cross pollination, it can create new species. So unintentionally or unintended hybrid strains can also cause damage to the natural environment or the surrounding. One such herbicide that has already been added in is Roundup. You can see the image which I put up to understand what or which herbicide can cause harm or what exactly is happening. Crops of Roundup ready soybeans have already been implemented in agricultural practices, possibly conferring Roundup resistance to neighboring plants. So one use of plant can be disused for the other plants, right? Further, the effects on untargeted species. Now we may take care of certain species or concerned with only one particular species, but unknowingly it can target other species also. So here BT cotton, which produces its own pesticide, is also in use today. So one of the well-known transgenic plants, or can say GMO, is the BT cotton. It has adverse effects on monarch butterfly population, which are not the original target of pesticide. So using of pests to kill a certain particular species can affect other species which are harmless, like the monarch butterfly or the other normal species which may get affected because of the excess use of pesticide to kill the pests. It can also have unintentional effect on neutral or even beneficial species. So the attack on the harmful species sometimes unintentionally can cause harm to the useful one or the beneficial one. So here the BT cotton, which is genetically modified cotton crop, it expresses an insecticidal protein which is derived from a soil bacterium, Bacillus thuringiensis var. Kostaki. Okay, so you can see the image I put for monarch butterfly, which looks really beautiful, one of the well-known species, but again being affected because of use of large amount of pesticide to kill one particular type of pest which cause harm to the crop. Further, effects of biotechnology on human health. Now, not only the insects are useful ones, or unintentionally the unknown target, but here it can even affect the human. Like first, allergies. GMO crops could potentially have negative effects on human health as well. Consumers have developed unexpected allergic reactions. Example, researchers use a gene from Brazil nut to increase the production of methionine in soybeans. The insertion of this gene inadvertently caused allergic reaction to the soybean in those with no nut allergies, that is biotech soybeans. Again I put the image. So what happens is sometimes by using one particular type it can have a allergic effect because of certain amount of chemical content of particular component present in that foodstuff, right? As here it's mentioned, production of methionine in soybeans. Second, long-term effects, and not only short-term, but it can be seen having long-term effects because GMO technology has been available for such a short amount of time. There is relatively less or little research which has been conducted on long-term effects on health, which we cannot anticipate at this point, which is very true. Reason now, like allergic reaction or short-term effects we can quickly analyze, which we can see what is happening, but in case of long-term effects we can't judge or we can't analyze how it is happening or what can happen in future point of view or in future, right? Further, new proteins that have never been ingested before by humans are now part of the food that people consume every day. Their potential effects on human body are as yet unknown. Now you can see again plant protein. Now we usually the athletics, sports persons or bodybuilders are using such proteins to increase their muscular activity, metabolism, right? But even the use of in these proteins in long term is still unknown. Further, uh, food additives. GMO also present us with possibilities of introducing additional nutrients into foods as well as antibiotics and vaccines. Now, as we learned in the previous part, GMOs help to give nutrient where specifically in the poorer countries, underdeveloped countries, where other than the staple diet, people are not able to get proper nourishment. So this GMOs helps them to provide the additional required nutrients. Also availability of antibiotics and vaccines because of the GMOs. This availability of technology can provide nutrition and disease resistance to those countries that does not have the means to provide these otherwise. However, there is a possibility of creation of antibiotic and vaccine resistant strains of disease. This shows that vast advances in the life science and our multicultural and pluralistic modern societies create numerous bioethical problems requiring some stringent regulation. That is the reason why there should be a proper rule and regulation what and what not to carry out, what should be done and what should not be done. So in terms of GMOs, the Indian government has set up the Genetic Engineering Approval Committee, otherwise GEAC. The organization makes decisions regarding the validity of research involving GMOs and addresses the safety of GMOs introduced for public use. So this is very much required so as to give approval to only those where there is no risk or it will be useful for the common man. Also there is no side effects or any problem which may cause later on. Okay. Further, biopatent and biopiracy. So up till now we learned about bioethics. Now biopatent and biopiracy. First, biopatent. Patent is a special right granted to the inventor by the government. Patent is a personal property of inventor. It can be sold like any other property. Now that is why the first slide image which I put up is where the person getting patent from the government or showing patent rights and he can sell it as a property to anybody else. Okay. Further, a patent consists of three parts: grant, that is agreement with the inventor; specification, subject matter of the invention; and claims, scope of invention to be protected. Okay. Further, biopatent is a biological patent. Biopatents are awarded for strains of microorganisms, cell lines, genetically modified strains, DNA sequence, biotechnological process, product and product application. So up till now you might have heard about the patents, but here biopatents, which is related to the biological aspect. Further, biopatents are awarded to recognize real innovative contributions made by the inventor to the cause of human welfare. The awards are given to the inculcate encouragement and values in developing scientific culture and in emphasizing the role of biology in shaping human society. So the main reason is to inculcate, to encourage and to develop scientific culture. Further, Indian patent allows process patent and not the product patent. Biopatent allows the patent holder to exclude others from making, using, selling or importing protected invention for a limited period of time. Duration of biopatents is 5 years from the date of grant or 7 years from the date of filing the patent, whichever is less. First biopatent was patented pertaining to genetically engineered bacterium, which is Pseudomonas, used for clearing oil spills, which was the very first one given the biopatent. Patent under the title Control of Plant Gene Expression was issued jointly to Delta and Pineland Company and US Department of Agriculture. Patent is based on a gene that produces a protein toxin to plant, thus do not allow seeds to germinate. However, this patent was not granted by Indian government. Such a patent is considered morally unacceptable and fundamentally unequitable. That is, a patent which is based on gene that produces a protein toxin. So it does not allow seeds to germinate. This was not granted by the Indian government. Okay. Further, this became because financially powerful corporation would acquire monopoly over biotechnological process. This in turn poses a threat to global security as well. So just I put two images. One is towards the right, the patent. What does patent mean? Protection, law, property, copyright, idea, rights, document, ownership, information, finance, crime, trademark, page, lot of things are there related to patent. Biopatent. A patent is a right granted by a government to an inventor to prevent others from making commercial use of his invention. Now, patents are granted for biological entities and for products derived from biological resource as well. Okay. Further, now biopiracy. Now, biopiracy, pirates, general terms are those who steal and kill others to enrich themselves. Now, piracy now become a common term, right? Where stealing or to acquire property, killing others just for gaining something, property, all those things, right? Now it is biopiracy. Biopirates are those who do not kill but steal the patent, misuse the patent. Biopiracy is defined as theft of various natural products and then selling them by getting patent without giving any benefits or compensation back to the host country or the person. In short, it is unauthorized misappropriation of any biological resource and indigenous knowledge. So that is what is biopirates means. Further, most developed countries or industrialized and financially rich nations are poor in biodiversity or traditional knowledge, whereas developing and underdeveloped nations have ample of biodiversity and they traditionally better know the use of bioresource, which is again well understood. Traditional knowledge naturally includes a deep understanding of ecological processes and the ability to sustainably extract useful products from the local habitat. Most traditional knowledge is handed down through generations. This helps them to develop modern commercial applications that save makers time, money and effort. If I add few things over here, just as mentioned, traditional knowledge is handed down through generation. What does that mean? Now we have learned a lot from our parents, grandparents and great grandparents, and similarly they from their parents and grandparents. So this traditional knowledge which is keeping on passing from generations to generation. That's why we use sometimes home remedies to cure certain small injuries or health aspect, right? Or even certain traditional knowledge in various preparations, cooking, all those stuff as well, right? Okay, further, components of traditional knowledge that are especially relevant to a global survival includes knowledge of food, crop varieties and agricultural farming practice, which is the most important, we can say, because traditional knowledge of these things has only developed the modern knowledge and only helped in the technological process as well, right? Without traditional knowledge all this was not possible. This is very true. Sustainable management of natural resource and conservation of biological diversity. Biological important medicines. Just as I mentioned, our parents, grandparents or great grand we learned certain home remedies to treat certain illness, cures or health problems, which even till today, even after a lot of technology being present, we use home remedies for a lot of things to for cure, for medication purpose, etc. The conservation of species, habitat and biodiversity are essential to the continued survival of indigenous and rural people. By conserving the customs and habitat of indigenous persons, we concurrently reduce emissions from deforestation, ecosystem degradation. Furthermore, the opportunity for cultural survival is a basic human right. The traditional knowledge is facing a problem of biopiracy. So here, as we read the last para, the deforestation, ecosystem degradation, or even our cultural survival is very important, because from the cultural survival from the culture we have learned lot of things, and that helps us to carry out many more things, and also which helps in the progress of mankind and even technology. But because of biopiracy it has been affected to a certain extent. Further, the act of piracy is unauthorized publication or reproduction of another person's work or material, which is very wrong. When someone indulges in piracy, the accused is using someone's work illegally or without taking any permission. The innovation and discovery of pharmaceutical and agricultural researchers are not new as to qualify and invent, as they are based on centuries of knowledge of traditional societies. So again related to that, I put two images towards the left. Biopiracy, using nature's knowledge of indigenous people without permission of financial gain. Just to make money, to earn, we misuse the others knowledge or traditional knowledge or others goodwill. Then right side of the image, biopiracy in term is a term used to refer to the use of bioresources by multinational companies and other organizations without proper authorization from the countries and people concerned, without compensatory payment. Here what is done is the companies, industries or even other organization, without taking permission, without a proper authorization or without compensation to the person who has actually carried out work, is being carried out, which we define as the term biopiracy. Further, examples of piracy. What are those? So with these examples we can come to know. Patenting of Neem, Azadirachta indica. From the name Azadirachta indica, the species indica, the Indian species or Indian origin. The people of India in a variety of ways have used neem since time immemorial. Just as I mentioned, from parents, great grandparents, great grandparents, we have known about the importance of neem. Indians have shared the knowledge of properties of neem with entire world. Pirating this knowledge, the USDA and an American MNC W.R. Grace in early 90s sought a patent from the European Patent Office (EPO) on the method for controlling on plants by aid of hydrophobic extracted neem oil. The patenting of fungicidal properties of neem was an example of biopiracy. So it is one of the most common example we can give related to the biopiracy, that is neem. So just for your knowledge, I put two images where you can see the importance of neem. Towards the left, the neem tree can be used for various purposes and all the parts of the plant can be used, whether it is leaf, fruit, bark, the entire the tree part, oil which is obtained from it, the seeds, flowers. So each and every part of the neem can be used. The neem tree, towards the left the image, Azadirachta indica, the tree of miracle, which is called because of the knowledge or the Ayurvedic literature which shares the images or importance. Neem bark is cool, bitter, acrid and refrigerant, attractive, broad-leaved evergreen up to 30 meters tall trunk, 30 to 80 centimeter in diameter, essential oil, fatty acid, amino acid and chemicals such as nimbin, nimbinin and nimbidin can be obtained from the plant. Seeds, leaf oil, bark, roots have medicinal property. Tiredness, cough, fever, loss of appetite, worm infestation, vomiting, skin disease and diabetes can be cured by neem. Originates from the Indian subcontinent and now in the dry regions of more than 50 tropical countries. Further, patenting of Basmati. The other example, Basmati is a long-grained aromatic variety of rice indigenous to the Indian subcontinent. In 1997, the US Patent and Trademark Office (USPTO) granted a patent to a Texas-based American company, Syjc Inc. for Basmati rice line and grains having trade name Texmati. The patent application was based on 20 very broad claims on having invented the said tree. Due to people's movement against Syjc in March 2001, the UPSTO has rejected all claims. So here again two images. Texmati was divided by crossing Indian Basmati with a semi-dwarf variety. A Texas-based company got patent on the rights of Basmati. So you can see how it was wrongly patented. In 1997, an American company got patent rights on Basmati rice through the US Patent and Trademark Office. This allowed the company to sell a variety of Basmati in the US and abroad. This new variety of Basmati had actually been derived from the Indian farmer varieties. Indian Basmati was crossed with semi-dwarf varieties and claimed as an invention or a novelty, which was wrongly obtained. The third example is haldi or turmeric, again similar to neem. Two American researchers of Indian origin of University of Mississippi Medical Center put a claim to the US Patent and Trademark Office maintaining that they had discovered haldi's healing property. Surprisingly, they were granted a patent in March 1995 for something you had known for years and our Ayurvedas for centuries. It meant that they had exclusive rights over any such haldi drug and were in a position to make millions of dollars. The Council of Scientific and Indian Research, that is CSIR, applied to the US Patent Office for a re-examination and they realized the mistake and cancelled the patent. This was after Indian scientists shouted from rooftop about how we are losing our traditional knowledge to marinating foreign companies who have started poaching on our ancient healing techniques. These foreign countries or foreign unwanted elements, they are using Indian properties to claim name, fame, money by wrongly using our techniques and technologies, which is a traditional one. It is a need of the hour to launch genetic literacy movement in Indian school and colleges for better understanding of opportunity and risk related to biotechnology, and also to promote the safe and meaningful use of technologies of modern science. So you can see, just I put some again interesting image, the Battle of Haldi Ghati, to just give a title to the Haldi or turmeric biopiracy, Indian fight for traditional knowledge. Also towards the right, another image, 1993 patent application by University of Mississippi Medical Center. 1995 USPTO granted patent for the use of turmeric in wound healing. Opposed by Indian Council of Scientific and Research in Industrial Research CSIR. 1997 the patent was cancelled. Okay, so that is the last part of the topic in the chapter biotechnology. Few questions related to the today's part. Okay, thank you all of you. I hope all the four parts are clear to you.